welcome to our next edition of Corona Mama Conversations. We are here today with one of my good friends, Rosa Tran. Hey, Rosa.
Good morning, Erin.
So she is a physician practice manager in the Central Florida area, and we're going to have a nice discussion today. We really want to talk about a few things. Number one, how the coronavirus has affected her physician practices. Number two, she is a corona mom of 2 college students, so we're going to talk about how that has affected them. And then also in the age of social unrest that we're dealing with, we'll discuss any sort of negative or ill effects that she has experienced during this time. So first off, Rosa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So just start off, just tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Rosa. I manage practices, and my new role that I recently started back in November, I pretty much go around and train new managers, existing managers that need a refresh, and any kind of a new requisition that we bring onto our organization. I will go out there and show them, what the organization is about. Pretty much just run the practices and making sure they are on board with our organization mission.
Okay. And what type of physician practices are you dealing with?
Right now, the current place I'm at, anything. We have different service line from urology to OBGYN to primary care, internal med, senior health, general surgery, but I like to stick to specialties.
Okay. And what would you say, which office or specialty was the hardest hit during this coronavirus?
Mainly my orthopedics, my urology, and general surgery, because a lot of those practices, the patient actually need to be seen in the practice for symptoms or problems and issues versus primary care where they can do video conference telehealth.
Okay. Okay.
So,
And how are things going now? Are things getting back up to speed or?
yes, we open fully now. So we do see our patient volume are back to normal. It was more of a struggle during last month, but this month we are back at our capacity already.
Okay, good. And what are some of the guidelines that you're implementing in the practices? Are you making the patients wear masks, or how are you guys going through? And then what about the check-in process? What are patients required to do?
We implemented Frisia, so everything is touchless. Patients, we register patients online. We give them a link that goes to their phone or their email. They register online the day of the visit. They sit in their car. Front desk team will communicate to the patient online, letting them know, hey, you finished your registration. The medical assistant will be working on your chart and calling you in. So by the time the patient get registered at home 2 hours prior to their visit, they will go straight into the exam room. There's no check-in at the front desk. The check-in is online, virtual check-in.
Wow. Okay.
So,
And
yes.
that sounds good. And, I'm sure that alleviates a lot of fears from patients and staff just to minimize some of that contact. So let's, switch gears just a little bit. I'm going to switch over because one of the hearts of this conversation with Corona Mamas is really just talking about how it affects, us as moms. And so, we've talked to women of all different levels of motherhood. We've talked to pregnant moms, new infant moms, toddler moms, school-age children, and now we're going to talk to you. You have 2 college children. Tell me, where are they in school, and what levels of college are they at right now?
Yes, my daughter, she's finishing up this fall. She's at FSU studying in international affairs. So she'll be graduating, but at the current time, she's at home doing online school.
Okay.
And my son, he is at a community college and will be transferring to FSU in the spring.
Okay.
Because in the fall, everything's online as well.
Okay.
So they're both at home with me doing online school.
And so talk to me a little bit about when, the lockdown kind of really hit for you all, especially with your daughter being away at college. what was that experience like? That how did you guys get notified that, schools would be canceled, and what was the process in getting her back home?
The whole process, everything was through email from the school. They notify her online, and the next thing, well, I'm always at work, and she called me. She's like, "Guess what, Mom? I'm coming home." So the next thing is she's moving back, packing her things, and leaving her apartment. It's just she haven't been home to live at home, so that was an adjustment for us, for
Yeah.
her actually. And yeah, it was kind of difficult because she's so used to being independent at
Yeah.
FSU, and Andre's always at home. They're just happy to be together.
Yeah.
But with her, it's a little bit adjustment for her, getting that withdrawal from being with her friends and going to class
Yeah.
and everything else. That was the difficult adjustment for them.
Yeah, very different social experience. Now, when they first said that, when she first said she was coming home, did the school indicate that this would be for the rest of the semester, or was there a certain time frame that they said that they would just close the school?
No, and that's the part where it's kind of frustrating. Everything was up in the air. It's like, oh, right now for the first couple months, we don't know yet. We don't know if we'll start school again. And then the next thing is they cancel the rest of the spring, and then they cancel summer. So it was just looking for waiting for their email every week.
Yeah.
So it's not something they have planned where, okay, this is what we're doing, not a structure. This is all new to us.
Yeah.
So everything was, we're up in the air waiting. So that's how that process went.
So when they first came home, classes were canceled, or were they still trying to do some virtual things when she first came home?
It was more when she first came home, class was, it wasn't canceled, but they didn't have any assignments for them. And
Hmm.
then after that, they were deciding it was a pass or fail grade
Okay.
with the remaining of the semester. So whatever grade they had during that time, they were going with the pass and fail. So they didn't finish their full curriculum for the spring semester.
Okay.
And they voted on, the kids voted on if they want pass or fail, and they went from there.
Okay. And talk a little bit about the financial aspect of it. All these things are canceled. The year wasn't completed. What type of conversations did they have with you with regard to any, scholarship funds or funds that had already been paid for the semester?
Well, as far as financial with the funds, that we didn't get anything back because it was still the semester. They still completed the semester
Okay.
regardless if they finished the class or not. And with the only thing that we had issue was with the apartment. We couldn't get. We had to continue renting the apartment until our contract ends, which is next year.
Okay.
And with the school, with the school financial, FSU register all the kids to the CARE Act,
Hmm.
not the CARE Act, but the CARE program. So
Sure.
she ended up getting 500 here and there.
Okay.
That that's just to help her pay the rent. But other than that, there's no financial impact besides having her apartment sitting there without anyone
Yeah.
renting
Ah,
it.
that's horrible. Horrible.
I know.
Any thoughts to any ways that, that may be able to be rectified or anything?
Well,
Like, I know
they
there
told
was,
us
at
that,
least here in Georgia, there was a moratorium for a period of time for, being able to evict people for, not being able to pay. Were there any, options that were available?
well, nah, the only option that's available to us is what's the one they gave us, is to lease it out to, we kind of have to find another renter to take over the apartment. But other than
Okay.
that, they told us we can't break the lease. We have to continue with it. And I guess if some families, if they can't pay, what can they do to them? But we don't want that impact our credit score either.
Sure, sure. Yeah, it's so
So,
tough. People don't realize all of the ramifications, when it comes to college students. I know a lot of the focus these days have been on, the young children the school age, but these college students are being impacted quite a bit. Quite a expensive education, and a lot, especially if they're
Yes.
traveling, they're away from home, from their families, and so trying to get them coordinated and back home can be very difficult. Um, and so, what about your son? I know he is in, like you said, community college, so he's commuting from home. But what was it like for him, going through that process of the lockdown? What was their process?
Their process with the community college, I guess it's a smaller volume, so they were able to convert to online virtual school immediately. Even though some of his classes, his degree is music education. So
Mhm.
some of his classes are it requires instrumentations and performance. So instead of being at school, now they have a teacher online listening to you play your instruments. So
Okay.
the only adjustment I had to do was knock on his door before I enter his room. Because usually, if I hear his instrument playing, I'm thinking he's just playing around with his instrument, practicing, not knowing that he's actually online with a teacher.
Yeah.
So I always walk in his room, jump on his bed, and then not realizing the teacher was in the background on the phone. So that
I
was
bet
kind of
that
embarrassing.
teacher was like,
Yeah.
So he's doing pretty well. You didn't have to install any soundproof walls or anything in the house.
No, no, we didn't have to do all that for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
But he prefers going to school than sitting at home playing instrument to a phone.
Yeah, I'm sure. At that age, the
Yeah.
social aspect of school is such a
Yes.
huge part of, your growth and development. Just meeting new people, learning new things, new ways of life, just kind of
Right.
getting out there and get that experience. And so hopefully we'll get this right so these kids can get back to school pretty quickly here.
I hope
Um,
so.
yeah, yeah. Otherwise, tell me how, you've been coping with the coronavirus, and what things have you been doing to keep yourself entertained, keep yourself busy, keep your head up during this time frame?
Well, with work, it's the same because my role is to go out there and train new managers and supervisors. So I'm leaving the house to go to work every day. But going home at initially with all the restrictions and lockdown, my preparation, I'm always preparing extra. So I prepare my whole house like it would be a real lockdown for
Yeah.
the purge. So I had my garage was full of propane tanks. I bought extra. I have water. So, and my refrigerator and freezer full of food. So during the lockdown, I realized it's not a real lockdown. So I had all these food in my refrigerator that I had to cook,
Yeah.
cooking every day with the two kids being home. I try to cook. About a month ago, we got tired of eating my home cooking meal. So we've been ordering food every single day, and that didn't help either. And I took up a hobby of raising quail. I forgot to tell you
Oh, wow.
that.
Okay, wait.
So
So, okay, pause. How did this
just
happen?
to keep me
Where do you find
busy,
quails? Are you cooking the quail
it's
eggs?
just
Like, what are we doing?
being, well, they're getting ready to, in another 2 weeks, I'll start having quail eggs. It's just
Wow.
finding different hobbies. I like my garden, so I've been working on my garden during the lockdown,
Yeah.
and it's there. I have my fruits, my vegetables, so I kind of want quail eggs at this time.
Okay, awesome. And so, one of the final subjects that I want to kind of talk upon is, we are currently living in a time of some social unrest. The coronavirus has brought out a lot of disparities and inequities in the minority population with regard to health care. But the recent killings of Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd has really shined light on some of the just brutality against, minorities, and currently with some of even the comments with regard to the COVID, calling it the Kung flu, the China virus, and things like that. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and maybe any negative experiences that you've had during this time.
I did hear about the Kung flu and all that, but growing up coming to America when I was 9 years old, didn't speak English. So I did encounter a lot of racism growing up.
Yeah.
And, they're constantly calling us Chinese and make all these sounds growing up. So that kind of, it didn't bother me much. But the things that are going around with racism with George Floyd and Breonna, those, it kind of irritates me a little bit. And the frustration is, how can, in this day and age, in this society, we are still encountering this type of racism against any culture. And I know this has been going on,
Yeah.
and no one really said anything about it. Or and I think this is a good time to start educating people and have an open conversation, and not turn our heads or kind of say, oh, that's normal. It's no longer normal.
Right.
This has to stop.
Hmm. And tell
And
the audience, where's your family from?
Vietnam.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
And
I came here when I was 9 years old,
okay.
and experiencing racism at my level, it's not the same. And just seeing the brutality that's afflicting on George Floyd and anyone in his situation, it's very frustrating that I can't do anything about it, except now that we all have a voice, that we can speak up, that we can get this to end.
Yeah. Yeah. What about, with your children? Have they spoken to you about any ill effects that they've experienced during this time?
Yes, especially my daughter. She's very involved, and she's involved in a lot of political issues. And her and a friend, they are starting a podcast at FSU to
Oh, wow.
mhm, raise fight against racism, and getting people involved more in political politics, choosing who they want to vote as their leader, and kind of break down to the kids, giving them an open platform to discuss and not feel um, embarrassed. I
Yeah.
guess some still they're afraid to ask any questions. So they're opening that platform so college students can go and ask them any question and raise awareness of what's going on in the world. And instead of telling them to vote for a party, actually look into that individual,
Yeah.
and not go towards a party anymore.
Oh,
So
great.
she's very involved. They're starting that. Hopefully that will roll out soon.
Oh, great. That sounds awesome. I
Yes.
think that's, this generation has a lot on their shoulders, but they can really affect change. And so
Hmm.
please, when that's up and running, share that with us so we can then share that with our audience as well.
Yes.
Because, again, this whole concept of Corona Mamas with everything that's going on, it's about the future as well, and us looking forward to, our children taking up the torch for moving forward in the future. Children of all ages, moms of all ages and experiences, us, for lack of a better term, protecting the
Hmm.
nest. And so let us know,
Yes.
kind of about that. And then finally, just kind of along those lines, tell us, since everything has happened, has your role as a physician practice manager, have you noticed any changes at work with regard to any efforts to increase diversity, inclusion, raise awareness, or anything within your organization? Any changes or steps there?
I'm very lucky to be with this organization. We with all the issue going on, people losing their job. Again, it happens to gear towards the one race,
Hmm.
that people are losing their job in the area that we're at right now. I'm in Polk County, so I see a lot of racism here. But with our organization at the current time, there's no, if anyone that needs help, that needs testing, it doesn't matter if they do have insurance or not, we're taking everyone in.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what about on the
that's
organizational level, like with regard to, employees and staffing and leadership, any changes in, focusing on diversity and inclusion for, the just organization in general?
with our organization, with the diversity changes that's going on. They have been holding a lot of conference and involve a lot of minorities to be in on the conference, to get involved, to get awareness out there regarding diversity and social economics towards certain race, and getting everyone involved and making sure that we are moving towards the new chapter.
Yeah.
They kind of call it like a diversity platform
Sure.
to get everyone involved in all the racism awareness, all the awareness that's going around to, and they're promoting minorities leadership as well.
Good. Good. Well, glad to see that things are kind of coming around. I know these are some trying times, and we are being affected on multiple levels, with homework, school, play, life, with coronavirus and some of the social injustices. But I think one of the positive things, if you could call it, with regard to the coronavirus, everybody, taking a pause and being able to really see some of the other things that are happening in the world, to be able to shed the light, and people being able to concentrate on those things. And so we can all come together and make a difference. So thanks so much, Rosa, for joining us today. We appreciate
Thank you for having me.
No problem. We appreciate you being a Corona Mama and everything you are doing to help patients on your front. Thanks everybody for joining us for another episode of Corona Mama Conversations. Be sure to check out our website at corona-mamas.com, or follow us on Twitter at coronamama1. Thanks so much. Have a good day. Bye, Rosa.
Thanks, Erin. Bye.